adopted that name. That name is called Sadanand. One of our members, he is in Sadanand from so many years. Always Sadanand. Sadanand means always, 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 always happy. That is the sign of...
Sometimes pleasure also gives happiness, but that is not happiness at all. So this
that happiness that happiness comes and that happiness goes.
Yeah. I don't want to call enlightened persons not defined from a happiness point of view. It is something we cannot explain. That is the bliss. That is a very different level, which there is no suitable word in English.
So I meet some enlightened people and I can see the bliss in them. Yeah. I do so many podcasts nowadays. I see lots of men. I can't say lots, but there are many people. The moment you see them, you can make out they are very happy because they have reached that state of spiritual awakening.
We see you also in that state, Guruji.
So what state you see me, Seturam? You see me in a state of consciousness. And in this consciousness, you see the vibration of joy. You see the vibration of peace. You see enthusiasm. You see acceptance. You see surrender. All these are the secrets now of happiness. So it's not that I'm getting a Louis Vuitton shirt or I'm wearing a Chanel belt or some people, if you go to Dubai, then whole day their only shopping bags will be all these names: Polo, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, and then Chanel. And then the more brands you have, the more happy. Many people think brands equals happiness. If I'm living in a branded apartment, then I'm happy. If I'm living in a Chotu apartment, I'm not happy. If I'm driving a Mercedes Benz, then I become happy. If I'm not driving a good car, I become unhappy. No. So this is an ordinary way of happiness. Seturam, good Seturam. This is you reach the state of happiness of where I have reached. Nothing needs to make me happy. I am just happy. You remain in that state of consciousness. Many of you have been saying it. You remain in that state of consciousness. What state? That state of Sat Chit Anand. That's why it's called Sat Chit Anand Atma, the 8th state of spiritual awakening in my book. It's called becoming a Sat Chit Anand Atma. Okay, thank you, Sedaram. Yogini Rekha Parwani. Yes.
So I also wanted to say, bliss is experienced by enlightened soul, and happiness is temporary and it is experienced by an ignorant or a bogey.
No, happiness is experienced by everybody in this world. Who is not? Tell me one person in this world. No, you don't. Even a person who's not a bhogi also enjoys happiness. Everybody enjoys happiness, but they also have pleasure and pain. They have happiness and unhappiness. Their life is a yo-yo.
Yeah. If you want pleasure, you're getting pain along with it.
As long as you're not enlightened, you will suffer pain of the body, misery of the mind, agony of the ego. You can't escape.
Right. Correct.
But if you're enlightened,
you are in bliss, Satchitananda always.
So why? What is the reason that you all have to tell clearly? Why? Rekha, Rumataji, Ritika. Rekha, Rumataji, and Ritika. Rekha is there?
Eternal. Yes, Shivoham.
Shivoham.
Can you hear me, AiR?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Tell me.
It's eternal happiness is not to leave the grip of SIP. And for me, I need the guidance of a guru. At that time, I find eternal happiness, bliss.
What does the guru do to give you happiness?
Because if ever I sometimes get into the mind state, my guru always guides me and brings me back to.
Okay, that's good. Good to be back in consciousness. Thank you, Rekha. Rumataji, Ritika.
Pranam Guruji, Shivoham.
Pranam Mataji, boliye.
Guruji, I feel happiness and what is the other word? Both
Enlightenment.
both are connected to Ru.
Both are connected to Ru. How?
Yes.
Suppose,
Guruji, in Satchit Anand, we experience eternal bliss,
correct,
which is permanent,
correct.
and nothing matters. We are always in Satchit Anand in consciousness.
That's correct. But even without Ru se Ru ka pyar or Ru se Ru ka connection, happy, you can still be happy.
No, that is not happiness. That
but
is
that is,
only temporary, momentary.
but that is also
Permanent,
happiness.
eternal bliss is only in Satchit Anand, consciousness.
So now you're coming to the point of the question. Eternal bliss is enlightenment. Enlightenment is eternal bliss. Today I'm giving the equation what Rumataji tried to speak. Happiness is not enlightenment. Who spoke? Somebody said happiness is enlightenment. No. But eternal bliss is enlightenment. So Rumataji has revealed the secret. But let us ask Ritika. Thank you, Rumataji. Ritika, what do you have to say? And then round number 2, Jasmine Lawrence is second round. I thought somebody else also. Ritika.
Shivoham Guruji. My question actually, I have a question actually for you.
Please ask.
Do enlightened people ever feel sad?
Truly enlightened people? No.
Never.
Now let's explain.
They never cry?
No. Because truly, what is it? Okay, I'm going to explain this. Beautiful question from Ritika. Ritika, let me explain to you. A truly enlightened person has no fear, worry, stress, anxiety, regret, shame, and guilt. A truly enlightened person has no anger, hate, revenge, jealousy, pride, greed, and selfishness. A truly enlightened person knows I am not the body. The body will pain. Now, every morning he comes and on this hand, you know what he does? He makes boiling hot wax and he pours it. Boiling hot wax. Just because the tendon here had a problem. Now it's become much better. Now it's still locked. See, it gets locked like this. So the when the body pains, what is the enlightened? If you are enlightened, then what do you say? If you're not enlightened, you say, oh, you scream like that. Naturally. A really enlightened person, if he screams also, then he will laugh. Oh, it's like that. So he will not screech in pain. He may screech in pleasure. He may screech saying, oh, Prabhu, like that. Because a truly enlightened person knows I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the ego. A truly enlightened person doesn't worry about death. A truly enlightened person doesn't worry about loss of money. A truly enlightened person doesn't worry about loss of love or loss of a relationship. A person who's not enlightened is so fearful. What if I lose my love? What if I lose my relationship? Such a person is living in the fear. And this is in the ignorance. What's the ignorance? Okay, this is mine. The enlightened person knows nothing is mine. The enlightened person lives with detached attachment. The enlightened person has nothing. The enlightened person doesn't own anything. The enlightened person is free, completely free. Tell me, Ritika, why should enlightened person? Tell me one reason why enlightened person should be unhappy. I challenge you. You tell me. I challenge you. Because the enlightened person knows all these nataks don't matter. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. The moment you awaken to the truth, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? The enlightened person, for him, I think you missed this session. For the enlightened person, Ritika, the magic word is northwest. Sorry, I'm saying not sorry. NM, nothing matters. Nothing matters. To the enlightened person, whatever happens. Today I had a very interesting podcast. Krishna would love to hear this. And of course, you all will hear the full podcast later. But the podcast, the saint whom I respect a lot in the podcast is called Satpal Singh. So he told me, he told me something very interesting. He said, even if you want to have a cup of tea or coffee, God decides. So I said, no, we have a free will. He said, no, everything, even a cup of tea or coffee. Interesting conversation. You should listen to it. Somebody whom I respect a lot. But perspectives, everybody has got their own perspective. Very awakened person, very enlightened person. Nanak Inam is the name of the podcast. But in this Zoom call, we are blessed in a very different way. You know, the Zoom call, I mean, everybody in this Zoom call can learn to be happy. If you don't know how to be happy, come at 7 on Instagram and you will get 11 minutes of happiness dose. Guaranteed. If somebody is not happy, you come at 11 minutes on Instagram every day at 7. How can you not be happy? Every day we talk of some good story and some good example and some good stuff. Thank you, Ritika. I hope that point is clear. We have Saroja before we give to Jasmine and Lawrence. We have Jasmine and Lawrence in the line. Saroja.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
An enlightened person is always happy. He is beyond Dvandvatita and Trigunatita, beyond good and bad and all this other Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. He sees sip in all. He feels that he's everybody his own extension. And and he's always in Sthita Prajna. His mind and ego have already been dissolved. And whereas an ordinary man's happiness will be keep on like pendulum, up and down, depending on the pleasure and pain.
Beautifully said. Very well said. See, my dear friends, today's topic is meant for that. This whole world wants happiness. This whole world knows that enlightenment equals happiness. But this whole world doesn't want enlightenment. But this whole world wants happiness. This is called a paradox. What is the paradox? Everybody wants to be happy, but nobody wants to do what it takes to be happy. There is a way to eternal happiness. We can be happy all the time, and we want to be happy all the time. But we are not doing that. It's just like me telling you, you want to eat, okay? There's a good packet of rice and noodles inside the packet. You eat it. You say, okay. You take the packet and you go home hungry and you don't eat it. What happened? You're hungry. There is good food, nice good food in the packet. Open it, eat it, be happy. No. This is called mind. This is called the grind of the mind. And as long as we are in the grind of the mind, we are in big trouble. Shidanand, thank you, Saurabh. Shidanand, Jasmine, Lawrence.
Shivam, Guruji.
Sure.
I want to say that happiness is only in consciousness. Whereas the other element is apart from consciousness, when somebody experiences pleasure, it is in the material world. But actually happiness is not there in this material world. It is a reflection. Basically, that's why we say that these objects give me happiness. But actually, the objects are not giving. It is just that original happiness, which is a part of consciousness. You get a flicker of it. So enlightenment is happiness. And everything else is just a reflection of happiness. It's a pleasure. So I don't think happiness the world can give, the objects or the matter in this world can give. Whereas enlightenment, that's why we say eternal bliss. Actually, happiness, that's why we have 3 P's: pleasure, peace, and purpose. That purpose is being in consciousness. Getting enlightenment means then being in the state of Satchitananda. And all other anandas are not actually, it is just a reflection of that original ananda on the material world. That's why Vaita cannot give you happiness.
So very, very beautifully said, Charan. But Charan, you're saying it from an enlightened point of view, from that side of the angle. You know, this whole world wants to be happy. And this whole world is trying to chase that state of happiness. I want to be happy. I want to be happy. I want to be happy. The first book I wrote, because before I became AiR, the first book I wrote is called I Want to Be Happy. The first book I wrote. And I taught people how to be happy from a non-spiritual angle. How we can be happy from a non-spiritual angle. But then
So the
Well,
inquiry leads you to that, because once you think that, then you suddenly realize a particular things make me happy, but my neighbor it makes him sad. So then you realize this happiness is not there in any of the objects of this material world. So then you do this inquiry, you lead a path, you come into spirituality, and then you suddenly discover that that original I, that consciousness, that enlightened ego is nothing but happiness.
but that you said very beautiful. So a lot of people don't understand this, that happiness is not in the object. And I
Yes.
think was it Jaya Rao who told me, if happiness was in the object, then one man is very happy with a cigarette and another
Yes.
man is very unhappy with the cigarette. Then why is the cigarette making somebody happy and somebody unhappy? That shows happiness is not in the cigarette.
Yes.
So thank you, Chiranand. We are moving to the second round. Before anybody has any other questions to ask, otherwise I'm going to close up early today. Jasmine Lawrence, Jasmine Lawrence, Gopal, Will, and MC. 5 questions. Jasmine.
Yes, I think that we are all chasing happiness, but happiness is SIP. So I think that we are all ultimately chasing SIP. And when you notice that SIP is inside of you, that brings bliss and also realization, which can lead you to enlightenment. I think that the power and presence of SIP can set you free from the world and bring bliss that can take you to enlightenment.
Absolutely. Because you're right. I hope you'll be also in America, you see happiness, for example, is all in everywhere. America is a good country. When you go and see the number of, if you go to Disney World, it's all about trying to make you happy. You go to Las Vegas, you go to Manhattan, you go all these places, they're all trying to make you happy by giving you pleasure, by trying to give you this music and this food, all trying to make you happy from an experience, right? Jasmine, it's all trying to make you experience happiness, but you don't experience consciousness, which is the real happiness. And that's why the biggest spirituality is in America. Most spiritual people who are seeking spirituality is also in America. It's very strange, but that's many Advaita schools, many spiritual leaders are in America trying, because there's so much want of spirituality. Thank you, Jasmine. Lawrence, Gopal, Will, Mamta.
Guruji again. Yeah, you know me because you said, well, I was very grateful the other day. You love to debate. So yeah, I have a debate. I have to really, because well, Jesus, for instance, in Gospel of John, he weeps, referencing what Rich said, because I say Jesus in his consciousness was not sad from emotion, but from compassion. So I think it's a crucial difference. So, me, as all of you, I would just ask, if I have no expectations, I'm writing a poem, I'm doing a painting, I'm walking, I'm talking with animals, trees, etc. There's no expectation about it. And so I feel very free. And so I would ask then, I know you with perspective and paradox. I love that. So the paradox is that it makes us so free that we can be what we are. And so there's no way of generalizing about how we are, except that we are.
I couldn't get your. Can you repeat your question, because it's got your voice is getting cut.
In any case, oh yeah, I know there was a little gap there. Okay, so just the main point then, Jesus, he wept.
I heard that. Jesus wept out of compassion, not out of emotion. I read that, but what's your question? Gone? Okay. Lawrence is gone. Gopal? You lost connection? Or? Gopal?
I bow down to sleep, sir.
Yes, sir.
So actually, in our routine life, there are some moments like we mundane life, we go to some picnic or some sunrise and sunset. At that time, there is some momentary point is there where our mind stops for a few fraction of seconds, maybe. And that time we have the glimpse of the consciousness, and we feel happy about it. But this is only temporary. But the enlightened person is established in that happiness, eternal bliss. So this is a difference, and because of that glimpses we have. Suppose we are mundane life, we go to a party, have some alcohol, maybe. In the moment, in the fraction of in the gap, our mind stops. And we have some glimpses of happiness. It is not because of the object, but because of our state of consciousness. So
Beautiful.
because of that, we search for the spirituality and establish in the consciousness all the time, enlightened person. And then enlightened person becomes sthit pragya. Even in pain and sorrow, he is some. Matlab, he is not disturbed at all. So this is my
No,
understanding.
very, very, very beautiful. I'm just saying what Gopal says. Gopal says happiness is a state, whether it's coming from a sunrise or sunset or even eating an ice cream, whatever. Those are moments of just moments of that consciousness of joy. But when it's gone, it comes and it goes. Suppose you enjoy a beautiful sunset. Oh, it's gone. It's become dark now. The beauty is gone. But enlightenment is not like that. Enlightenment, the light continues to shine. The consciousness continues to flow. And you're right that people who are seeking, okay, let me give you one more beautiful thing Gopal said, I would like to pick from here. The connection between happiness and enlightenment is a man searching for happiness, seeking happiness, wanting happiness can reach enlightenment. And a man who is seeking enlightenment is sure to reach happiness. So this is the connection. A man's this is what you were talking about, noble happiness. A man seeking eternal happiness, eternal bliss, will reach that state of happiness. Eternal happiness, not pleasure. Noble happiness, as Will calls it. When you're seeking eternal happiness, you get enlightenment. And when you're seeking enlightenment, you get eternal happiness. This is the connection of
Second
today's
thing,
call.
sir, you are
Has-
talking about the purpose, finding the purpose of life.
Yeah.
What I feel, sir, when you are get enlightened, then you are in the no mind state, and whatever the instruction you receive from the universal consciousness or SIP, then you process that, execute that thing.
Absolutely. You don't have your own purpose. You
Purpose.
don't have your own goals anymore.
And third one is, sir, your the 16-letter happiness secrets. It is a secret of enlightenment, I think.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
You are absolutely right. Are you coming on the Instagram at 7 o'clock?
Yes, I come, sir.
Very good. Very good. That
Thank you.
16 letter happiness, Gopal Prasad, that 16 letter is indirectly, if you keep on achieving that 16 letter happiness
Yes,
secret, you will reach enlightenment
Please,
automatically.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very
Thank you.
beautifully said. Very beautifully said. Thank you. Will Mamta before, and then Atmatray. Will Mamta Atmatray.
I think the answer given earlier about freedom, the happiness of freedom versus the happiness of entrapment or attachment. There are two happiness. The bhoga happiness, the worldly happiness, is associated with bondage, firstly, and secondly, with defilement. They use the word kilesa or asava, nivarana. These are the Pali terms, and they indicate internal defilement, greed, lust, hatred, these kind of attachments, craving. These can lead to happiness, but they're the happiness not of freedom. So on the religious path and the spiritual path, you've used the term simple pleasures, for example, and by a simple pleasure, you mean a kind of pleasure that does not lead to being trapped or bound.
Yes, very beautifully said. So if you have those pleasures of bhoga, what these are called pleasures of sense gratification. If your happiness is to do with sense gratification, that desire will never quench your thirst. It will only make you burst. Those pleasures will give you pleasure for the moment, but it will end in pain. But the happiness of yoga, as compared to the happiness of bhoga, the happiness of yoga will give you eternal bliss. The happiness of yoga will make you shine in consciousness. And unfortunately, people don't understand this. It's very funny. I meet many people who say, I want to be happy, but they're not happy. They are happy, what they say in the Hindi movie, Kabhi Khushi, Kabhi Gum. sometimes sad, sometimes glad. But those people who are in consciousness, I meet more and more such people. Very beautiful. When there is no mind state. Now, so what is the problem with the mind state? The mind creates misery, fear, worry, stress, anxiety, regret, shame, and guilt. The mind creates. The mind creates anger, hate, revenge, jealousy, pride, greed, selfishness, along with the ego. The mind and ego are creating 14 monsters, 14 miseries. And when you are in a state of consciousness, when you're in a state of enlightenment, none of these. None of these. Mamta and Atmatre. Thank you, Will.
Shivoham Guruji.
Shivoham.
The 7-Eleven moments really make me happier day by day. It's changing my perspective of happiness. Now, my question is, how important is praying into the path of enlightenment? And do enlightened people pray once they're enlightened? Because sometimes I pray to achieve enlightenment. So how important is that?
If somebody doesn't pray, they are not enlightened.
Okay.
If you don't pray, if you are enlightened, what does it mean? If you're enlightened, you realize you are an ocean. You are an ocean in the form of a wave. Mm-hmm. You realize you are just a speck of sip. How can you not pray to sip? How can, if you are enlightened, the first thing you will do in the morning and the last thing you will do in the night is you will pray. Mm-hmm. But your prayer will not be a meaningless prayer. Your prayer will be yoga. Your prayer will be dhyana. Your prayer will be prema yoga, will be bhakti yoga. Your prayer will be that union with the divine.
So beautiful.
Sometimes you may just be in silence, listening, waiting for the divine voice to come. And it will come. You can't not pray because enlightenment does not liberate you from being a speck of the Supreme. Mm-hmm. We are nothing. Without the Supreme, we are nothing.
Perfect.
So you must pray. Thank you. Atmatre, Lawrence, Will.
Sure, sir.
Sure.
Sir, I think happiness related to mind, but the enlightenment related to consciousness.
Happiness is not only related to mind, you would say pleasure is related to mind.
Okay.
Because happiness can also be Satchidanand. Happiness is a large term. If you spell happiness with 3 P's, it's not only mind. It's pleasure, peace, and purpose.
Yes.
So it all depends how you view happiness, Atmatre. Real happiness, ultimate, transcendental happiness. Transcendental happiness means the happiness that has gone beyond skin.
Yeah.
Suppose there is such an anand, then that happiness is very beautiful.
Yes. It's an eternal bliss.
So we must be clear. The maza will give saza, which means only pleasure is not the treasure.
Right.
But we want eternal bliss. Eternal bliss means it should not come and go. It should forever flow.
Correct.
Thank you, Atmatre. Lawrence and Will. We'll close with these 2 questions. Lawrence and Will.
Oh, good. Well, I'm back, and I never give up, as you can say. And I think, Guruji, I used the wrong word. Rather than
I heard
Jesus,
you saying.
it was the
Holy
Spirit. It was the Holy Spirit. Then, would you not say that passed through that he would, in a state of detachment to Christ. It wasn't. It was a divine sadness. Perhaps.
No. So let me tell you, for example, you may cry tears of entreaty, tears of love for God. So there are different type of tears. Tears are sometimes tears of love, tears of love.
Right.
So you don't have to always, but try to understand that what we are talking about today. Before I end the call, I must put it together. What is the connection? My dear friends, everybody, before I give to Will will go last. What is the connection between happiness happiness and enlightenment. So happiness is PPP. Happiness is pleasure. Happiness is peace. Happiness is purpose. But only when you reach PPP, when you reach from pleasure to peace to purpose, you reach enlightenment. When you discover who am I, why am I here, in that state of realization, you reach that state of Satchit Anand. You reach that state of Samadhi. You reach that state of eternal bliss, being in truth consciousness. That's the connection. So I don't know who said it. I think Anand said it, and then Bliko said it, or somebody else also said it. Krishna said it. You move from pleasure to peace to purpose. From pleasure to peace to purpose, you reach enlightenment. From achievement to fulfillment to enlightenment. Both of these meet at a point of eternal happiness. Happiness that is forever. And happiness which has no misery and sorrow. It has liberation from all sorrow and unification with the divine. But please understand, all happy people are not enlightened, but all enlightened people are happy. And how we have to evolve on that journey of happiness to reach the journey of eternal happiness, ishq hakiki, that state of eternal happiness, that state of divine happiness, that state of awakening, of seeing God in all, serving God in all, loving God in all. When you reach that state of, you feel the ecstasy of love. You discover the purpose. You are free from mind and ego. You accept, you surrender. You live in Satchit Anand. This is what we talk every day on Zoom call. And some people, I think Mamta comes regularly, Gopal comes. I thought Chotwani coming sometime. Some of you come at 7 p.m. on the call. Over to you, Will. Thank you. That was the closure for today. Will.
Yeah, I haven't. I was going to ask a very complicated question, but I can't make it into a question, so I'll have to ask later.
But what is the thought?
Well, tell you the truth, I was very interested in the Krishna consciousness people. I think that they've got a very nice system. A lot of things that I think that they're very good people, and they're very sincere and hardworking. And they have very interesting thing about sexual relationship. They're very strict on that issue, and it's quite, I'm not sure whether it's good or bad. I know people have different views on it, and the Buddhist monks have a very strong view. Krishnamurti had one view, and he had one view, but he behaved in another way. So it's all very slightly complicated and murky, that whole issue, really. Interestingly, couples tend towards the Buddhist way eventually, and I think really at the end of the day it's up to individuals, and I'm sure everybody has their own view on the subject. But I don't know if ever you would, make you.
No, as I said, it's a new subject. You can send it on a WhatsApp if you want it to become a subject of discussion. See, everybody has got different views, but if you live in the consciousness that we are all manifestations of the one divine, then everything is beautiful. If nothing is good and bad, everything becomes beautiful. But we must live in that truth consciousness. Everything in that truth consciousness is good. But the moment we lose truth consciousness, then the evil thoughts comes. Then the sattvic, the rajasic, the tamasic thoughts come. Then you start thinking. As long as there is love, and love is it's ecstasy of divine love, it's fine. But that's the whole topic. We can discuss the ecstasy of love, because the subject, you can't just catch one aspect of the subject. Love manifests as physical love. It manifests as the 7 colors of the rainbow of love. In fact, I'm just writing that in my book. Have I told you all the acronym of true love? Have I told you all TRUE? True love. Bola aapko true love kya hai? I don't think I've told you. So I've got a new acronym of the word true love in my book. Hopefully we can do a topic on that. But ultimately, my dear friends, today I'm talking to you on how there's a connection between happiness and enlightenment. When you keep on evolving on the peak of happiness, you reach enlightenment. When you keep on evolving on the journey of enlightenment, you reach a state of eternal happiness. But all happy people are not enlightened. All enlightened people are happy. With folded hands, I bow down to you. See you tomorrow at 8.
Thank you, sir.